What is going on, everybody? Mark here, and you are watching the continuation of the first gradient mesh tutorial, the beginner's guide to gradient mesh, which is this thumbnail on my YouTube channel. If you have not watched that, I'd recommend it because this is going to be again a continuation of that. So in that episode, what I did was I taught basically how to avoid getting these broken lines and setting up a proper mesh. So we have the spine going across, let me just shrink this, going across the center of the candy cane, kind of the way it's supposed to be. Now this candy cane again is a little crude, but you know, for the purpose of the tutorial, I really don't care. But some of you might be saying, yeah, you know, Mark, I have this spine and it looks nice and it is functional. The mesh is functional, it's not broken, but it doesn't look like a candy cane. How can I make this look like a candy cane? Like the colors, you know, I want this to look like the traditional red and white candy canes. So what I'm going to do is show you how to do that. And I'm going to pull up just a source image here so I can have a reference. But it doesn't have to match entirely. What I'm just going to do is just so I can have everyone on the same page here. I'm just going to bring this image in from Google. So I'm going to try and get the look of the red and white kind of like this. So again, I have this in for reference, and the way we're going to do that is we have to understand we manipulated a square into this candy cane shape. So we're going to kind of use that same mentality going forward for every other mesh that we make and every other edit that we make, that we have to manipulate these lines in order to represent what we want to draw, right? So the problem that we have here starting out to get this end result is we don't have enough points in the mesh. And by doing that, we need to add more points in order to create this look. The first thing I'm going to actually do is basically I'm going to use these points as my reference, right? So I'm going to actually take these points down and I'm going to start creating that look, that that kind of diagonal look that we get in the candy cane. And obviously I messed up the arch here, so I'm going to have to take this and kind of make sure I don't lose track of the shape here. And we're going to have to do constant editing to this. But nonetheless, see how I made this line now a 45-degree angle, and it still has not changed the look of the candy cane. And that's pretty much the idea here, is that we're going to create diagonal lines within this mesh. So if we can imagine like this line right here would be this boundary of this top red line here. So what I'm going to need to do is I need another one like that. So now I have kind of that box. But the problem is I can't leave it like that. I actually need points in the middle. And the middle points are going to allow me to source the red color, and I'll show you what I mean. I'll select all those points and make them red. And then I'm going to select all these points on the outside, as well as I'm also going to make them red. So now we have something like this. So now what I need to do is I need to box in this box. So if I take these points and make them like that, right? If I make a boundary, because if I imagine all these points in the middle that I just made, these three lines are my red lines, and now these lines right here are going to be my white lines. And you'll see by doing so, see how we now have boxed in and cut off the red. So if we continue that process and repeat, we're going to create ourselves a candy cane shape. So now that I have my white line here, that's going to be basically my boundary for the white part. So I'm going to have a point in the middle. That's going to be like my source white points. That's going to be my box, my bottom box, and I'm going to do a line right there like that. So now this is going to be my red points. Right? And so we can see that. And you can now change the blending between the colors if you now pull these points further away from each other, right? So now we're creating a longer blend. You can also mess with the handles here. But pretty much, again, this is going to be the mentality going across the entire candy cane. So we're just going to keep going across. This is a pretty simple shape, so I'm not really worried about messing it up. I can pretty much see what's going on very easily. And obviously this looks a little wonky at places. Usually I would do this on top of a actual candy cane and then just basically trace with the gradient mesh and recreate it with the gradient mesh, but I'm just doing this by eye simply so you guys can get the idea across here to understand kind of how you would take from step one, you know, making the candy cane shape and morphing the square into this shape, and then taking that perfect mesh that you've created and then kind of welding even further actual definition lines, such as boundary lines for color, that would otherwise, you know, define from red to white, you know. And you could see that we have to box in the red zone with other line, you know, we have a line here to box in with white, we have a line here to box in with white. This should, I mean, again, not perfect, but the idea is that we want to create these lines in the trend and in the directionality that they are actually being formed. And that's gonna get your final image across when you're actually trying to draw perfectly with the mesh. Again, don't judge my poor freehand skills. Not the best with freehand, but I'm just trying to convey the actual you know, form that we're trying to do here. Hopefully this is a little bit more of a help from the first episode that I made into, you know, further understanding how to actually get a more clean result and a more realistic result in your drawings. Again, please don't judge me. If you want to judge me, leave a comment below, subscribe, like, and I'll see you guys on the next video. My name is Mark DiMattei. You can find me on Instagram at markdarts. That's MARKD_ARTS. And let's laugh about my poor candy cane drawing skills. See you guys next time.